can start off with the intro, who you are, how you got into holistic health, because people ignore the fact that spirituality and stuff is a part of your holistic health. They just think it's Dr. Sebi.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my name is Ashley, for those that don't know. Um, I got into, or well, I'll call myself like an energy worker or a wellness advocate because I'm not like necessarily healing anyone. I don't like to call myself a healer because I'm not doing that work. It's the person doing that work, right? I'm just sharing what I learned on my healing journey and how things are helping me, right? But I'm not doing that work for people, they have to choose to do that. So I did want to make that distinction clear because I feel like it's easy for people to slap that name on themselves, but like I don't because, for that reason, like I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. Like
Right.
you
Nobody's
at the end of
preacher
the
or
day,
pastor. Yeah.
right, that's up to you. I'm just sharing how um I make life easier for me and maybe it could be
Yeah.
easier for
Same.
you,
Yeah.
you know. So I like to say that I'm an energy worker or a wellness advocate because understanding what like holistic health and like holistic wellness means is understanding energy and how it works and the science behind that because it is science. Like
Yeah.
people tend to discredit holistic and naturalistic ways of living as like not scientific, but it's all science. Like
Right.
the ways that we understand how all of these things work, there's a science to that. These are organic things, these are living things, they're composed of chemicals and things like that. So that's science. How it reacts in our bodies is science. How we digest it and how it helps us with our health and our, just ability to live. That's science. So like, it's a lot more related than people
Think.
have that
Yeah.
understanding or give it the credit because it's literally science. Um, so I got into this more holistic way of like understanding things while I was in school studying sciences. I studied exercise science, which is a lot of anatomical science, learning about what's happening on a cellular level, on a hormonal level, on a muscular level, all of that, learning how to measure agility and strength and speed and all of that stuff. So, creating programs for people, training programs for people, things like that. So, learning all of that, I was able to really understand like the the holistic part of it, like, wow, okay, I get why eating this way is important because that's the literal fuel that will keep your body going and will keep it in good health, like that's when everything kind of started clicking. When I was learning about the organs and how they operate and just the all the science behind it like really made me see like wow this is divine, like there's something this is like wow, like I can't really explain it, but the way that our bodies operate so instantaneously too, like we don't think anything of it, right? But when you learn the process of the like major functions of the body, you're like, wow, that does take a lot of energy. And when the energy isn't balanced, it does create these problems. So like when I started making those connections, then I started understanding it on a metaphysical level as well.
Mm.
Okay, when when people talk about like abundance and things like that, right? On a metaphysical level, like that's life, that's breathing, right? That's the ability to grow and learn from things. That's the ability to connect and things like that, right? Where we can find ourselves in community, where we can find ourselves having that reason to keep going every day, right? That's abundance too. Um, but when we're thinking of things in a physical sense, we're like, we need more material things. We need the money, we need the job, we need insurance, we need all of these things to kind of keep this reality that we've shaped together in real time. And it's hard to see how having your mind be in a certain place can connect to what's actually happening in reality. And being in school and science and all of that helped me understand those connections because I was seeing it as I was learning it, if that made any sense. So it made me explore more. It made me want to understand how I can apply that to myself more and how I can share this with others. And that's one of the other things that I really learned with not just the formal education, but with my own transformations was like community is especially important. Um, Education is especially important in the sense of just imparting knowledge upon the next person and showing them like, hey, this is this. They may not receive it depending upon where they're at, but to have that space to do so, to be in that space to do so, and know that you have that knowledge and you are doing your part to share, it's okay if it may not be received right now.
Mm.
They're going to remember that though, whether they realize it or not. And then, things happen as they happen. But
I think that's greatly put. That's like looking outside of yourself.
right.
And I try to do the same thing with just sharing certain information because it can be hard. Like I used to be really big. Like I've gone through, life being skinny, fat. But I used to be really fat, like when I was in college. And, I lost weight, I'm getting healthy. I'm getting on my, quote unquote, Dr. Sebi, because everybody kind of knows what that means when people say that. So I'm juicing, I'm doing all that. And it's like, you think, the people around me when I was still living with my mom and dad, like, oh, we gonna do the same thing. Like, look, but it's like, even when it's happening right in front of their face, it's not easy to see. And sometimes, you learn these things and they help you. And sometimes it can be so simple, like, yo, you can't think negatively or your life is going to be negative.
Right.
And you hear something so simple, you're like, wow, you try to tell that to somebody, it's like, they could try to fight you over that. Right. And it took a while for me to get it. Like, man, it's like, everybody learns at their own, pace. Cause, for me, I when I was growing up, I was always hearing, woke stuff because my cousins are either like Rastas or they're like, in the nation or 5% or something. So it's like, even though they were as still like in the street life or something, in the little passerbys, it will be like, I'm getting some sort of information or they're teaching you like, how they used to live in Jamaica or however it might be. So I always had that like in my subconscious somewhere. And when I started to study on my own, I was like, oh shit, they wasn't bullshitting. Like, like that shit that they were saying was true. Like, you just gotta meditate. If we meditate, we can do this. It's like when I used to hear that, because we go to school and they tell us something completely different. So when I used to hear that, I never used to understand. And that's the key is to not even just having the knowledge, is to be able to actually understand it. And I realized like, that's why on my Instagram, I realize most of the things I post, if I have, let's say 100 people who watch it, maybe only 2 people is going to understand or get it. And I'm like, well, those are the 2 people it's for. If I'm trying to reach all 100, or I'm trying to say like, this is to lead somebody or to, then at that point, it's like, I'm not doing it for the right reasons, I feel like. Because then I'm just doing it to be notoriety, but it's like, no, this information changed my life. And it's like, I know to do the same for you. It's just, if you're ready for it, here it is. That's kind of how I look at it.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. And I feel like that, while I was in school, that was definitely something that I needed to see and like understand because it was something that I had felt, but I wasn't able to articulate or I wasn't able to understand fully. These are things that I like pondered growing up, the things that I like wanted to understand on a deeper level, but I didn't have like the language or just the literal understanding on how to get to how to get there. But everything that I did leading up to that point led me there, studying science and studying like history and loving history and all of that stuff kind of tied into how I approach things now, as far as my understanding with how, you know, your thinking affects your body, and how uh history affects us on a physical level too. You know,
Right.
how living in real time obviously affects us, on a physical level and a mental level, and the ways that um, the ways that are, like you said, are so simple, that can really help us with some deep transformation that needs to happen. You know, deep transformation of the spirit, of the mind, of the body, like that that understanding that is individual but also collective at the same time. So, like, you know, I always go back to community. Like, that's really important when you're going through any type of transformation or change. You know, there's always going to be moments of solitude where there's parts where you have to go alone, you know, but you're not the only one that's experiencing that part in their journey, you know, and you can have community based on that. So just um, being more aware of not just the physical ways that we need to do better, like as far as our health goes, but the mental and the emotional and the spiritual ways that, you know, we need to do better for ourselves so that we can truly heal and truly come together and heal together. Because healing can't happen in a vacuum, you know, it
Mm.
can't happen in complete isolation. Um, because then that, again, that creates an imbalance. Now you're hoarding, right? Now you're hoarding this energy and you're not giving back anything. You're just taking, taking, taking. And so, you know, that creates problems too. So,
Um, Speaking on the history and the community,
mhm.
um, you know, growing up, I have as much probably like, getting the alternative side, what people say is our history, and then as well as what they teach us in school. But
Mhm.
it wasn't until recently, like recent teachers I've seen say things that's like that really help you get to that understanding. And I'm like, wow, I can see like when they, oh, we're just living in a tribe, but it's like, no, we're living in a tribe. And it's like, this person is a shaman, and this person is that, and that person is that. And everybody has a role. And when you're down, it's like I could go talk to this person. I could go. It's like the things that we debate and have discussions on in our community didn't really exist back then. It's like there is no single mom when everyone in the village looks out for every woman. And I feel like part of that imbalance is us really not having that community in those roles. It's like everybody's walking around, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what's my purpose? And it wasn't until I really started going back and looking like, okay, this is why we did this and this is why we did that. It really helped with that, that understanding, because at times I could definitely do the isolation because it's kind of like all
Right.
and I never really understood the importance of community, because I'm looking at my neighborhood. I'm like, well, this ain't no community,
Right.
And then I'm looking at like my family and stuff. We ain't the greatest on terms, and your family is what you make. If anybody listening, don't just have to be your blood family. So we're not the greatest on terms. So I didn't really have that understanding. So I'm like, okay, now this makes sense. And you kind of hear these things growing up. I know Jamaicans, a lot of older Jamaicans, they'll call older people like, Mada or Fada, or like the same way like Spanish people, everyone's like Papi or
Mhm.
Mommy. And I never understood what that was. It's like because anybody who's a mom could be your mom, so you got to treat her like that.
Right.
When we lose them type of traditions, like you could see why things are the way that they are. So you don't have respect for somebody unless it's like I have a personal relationship with them,
Right. Right.
versus having to understand it's like how we be like, that's my brother, that's my sister. It's like at one point, it's like we really felt that way,
Right.
and we've kind of lost that. So I think because sometimes people could be asking, why do we turn to this history? It's like, why are we looking at these pyramids and these people in tribes and they got bows and arrows and sticks in their nose? It's like, we should try to get an understanding. I tell people, it's like, we should try to get an understanding of ourselves, because they just us, this is just what we used to do, and how did we used to live and how did we used to heal? It's like we don't have the answer to those questions, but they lie in our history,
Right.
So if anyone's ever wondering why we go back or why we feel like, that's so important, it's because like that's where a lot of our answers are. How did I used to do that? We're saying Egyptian, we're saying India, we're saying whatever, but it will really just talk about us. We're just saying like, what did we used to do?
Right.
Because we clearly forgot, or we wouldn't be so out of balance.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's not to say that there's also obviously powers that be that we cannot control that do
Right.
impact us greatly and the ways that we're able to process and handle our lives. Um, and that is where, of course, we would see a lot of major change too. And not to say that that's not possible either, but it has to start within first,
Right. Right.
individual level, and then it starts to, grow in community. And then that's when, like you said, we go back to a single mom not existing, because if the birth mom can't take care of the child, there is going to be somebody there to take care of the child.
Right.
It's not, like it's not going to be like they're on their own,
Right.
much like how it is now. So, understanding how all of those things are a part of like capitalism and racism, and how that affects the way that we treat ourselves, that affects the way that we feed ourselves and how we're able to feed ourselves. Because there's a difference between how we want to feed ourselves and how we're able to feed ourselves. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of us don't live in the best places, so we don't have access, or if we do have access, it's just really expensive as far as like monetarily goes. But um again, understanding that we can be there for each other in those times too, and knowing what that looks like and why it's important to be there for each other in those times is really why I got into energy work and the things that I do now.
Mm. All right. Um, let me just go straight into like doing tarot and stuff. So what is tarot? If you had to like break it down to somebody, they was like, man, what is that? Are you guys playing with cards? What is that?
No, it's so, I mean, I guess it does depend on who you ask. Um, it is technically playing with cards, right? But it's a form of divination, right? And to divine something is to get more insight on it, right? And you can do divination with a lot of different things. Tarot just specifically uses these cards that tell a story, right? It's called the Fool's Journey, and it tells what the fool at the beginning of the deck goes throughout the entire story. And there's cups, there's wands, there's swords, and there's pentacles, and those all represent different energies. There's major cards that represent like deeper transformative things, and then the minor cards, they represent more day-to-day things or more regular things that you'll be feeling on a more personal level. And so, like, tarot is just another level of understanding. It's not a form of worship of anything else. Like, any valid tarot reader will tell you that they get their energy from the Most High, from God, right? Whatever they decide to call God, whether it's source, whether it's spirit, it's the Most High. Like, it's not about worshiping something outside of God. It's about channeling, understanding that you're a vessel and that you have certain um, qualities that allow you to receive messages in ways that most people may not, in ways that most people may not acknowledge that they can, but you are tuned in and you are tapped in. Um, and so being able to then interpret what's coming from these cards as you're asking questions, you're really just looking for visual messages that are popping up through these cards. And then as you learn and you do your research on what these things actually mean, you get better at interpreting them. You get better at trusting yourself, trusting what you're feeling, trusting what you're hearing, knowing what's coming from you and what's not, and being able to really impart some knowledge or some insight to where, most people already know, but they need that physical confirmation, like somebody else said it. So, yes, okay. That's honestly what it comes down to a lot of the time. And I always tell people that tarot is a mirror. So, whatever you decide to use tarot to look into, know that it's going to show you things that you may have been denying. It's going to show you things that may not look as good and feel as good. So now you have to face it, because here it is again in your face. Like, it's literally in your face now, looking back at you. Right. And so it can be uncomfortable, but you can't use tarot to bypass anything. You can't use it as a means to avoid doing the work or trying to change outcomes of things. And this is where people get fucked up, because you can't manipulate energy that way. You know what I mean? Like, energy is always going to transform, and it has to be in equilibrium. So using tarot to gain insight and understanding of the layers of you and what you're experiencing, that I think is very healing. I think it's positive. And I think that it just allows you to be more vulnerable and honest with yourself. And then it changes how you interact with others. It changes the way that you interpret things as well, and the way that you perceive things, because it's just giving you that confirmation that you already felt. It's showing you how to trust yourself and showing you, okay, here's where improvements need to happen. So I think tarot, people like to, again, dismiss it as something that doesn't really have any basis or like any, I guess, foundation, but it's very much based in universal law, right? And universal truths, right? It's always going to show you what you're asking. It's up to you to pick it up, but it's going to show you, okay, here's what's happening. And it's up to you to do something about it. Just like if you were just to sit and pray and ask God for a sign, God is going to give you signs. Are you picking up on them, and are you seeing them? It's literally the same thing, but here it is in card form. So that's really
what do you say to the person who sees the cards and they're like, oh my God, the devil worshiper,
right.
this is
At this point, I understand that is where they are in their perception. And nothing
that's a good answer. Yeah,
is going to change that. And it's okay that that's their perception of what I'm doing here, or what I understand tarot to be and how I use it. Because if we're going to talk about things used as tools, then we have to be honest about the way religion has been used as a tool throughout history. So, I don't want to get into that conversation.
Right. So
it honestly, it's circular and it doesn't go anywhere.
Yep.
And it's not good for me or them, because we're going to be at our levels of understanding, and no one's really going to budge. They're not willing to open up, and I'm not going to narrow my view. So
that's another lesson I've in the last few months I've learned, is that you just can't debate with people. It's like you can't say nothing, you can't because there's nothing I don't even know how we got so caught up in that in the culture. We got to debate and we got to go back and forth and we got to argue, because one of the, we talking about universal laws, is one of the laws of polarity is that you're gonna have opposite sides of the coin, and times both people could be right depending on how you are presenting the subject. And if there's anyone listening, you're on your journey and you may feel like, man, I gotta wake everybody up, I gotta wake up my family, I gotta tell them. It's that can be very hard, and that can be something that the equivalent to getting a door slammed in your face a lot. And even though it's something that's simple, as we say, it's a tool. it's a tool for you to get your signs from God, but yet it's been so demonized, and we know why, but I'm just saying, to anybody, like the person watching this, trying to learn, or, on their journey, it's like, be careful with that, understand that if somebody is looking for the information, they will come to seek it. They won't be like, it's like you can't force it on them.
Right. Absolutely. And I've realized that that's been happening a lot lately. Um, especially on social media with the influx of interest in the occult, as it's called, um, and understanding tarot and understanding astrology and using it. Again, intention is important with everything you do regarding your energy. Like we were saying earlier, if your mind's not right, then the actions are gonna mirror that. So if if you're not using these tools correctly, if you're not using them for the right reasons, um, it's going to definitely affect you. It's definitely going to come back to you in some way, and it's not anything to play with in that way. And then, be aware of uh, folks just sliding into your DMs talking about oh, I had this about you and I want to give you a reading. Like that shit is probably not real. Like no reader is going to solicit you for readings, like no astrologer is going to solicit you in your DMs for a reading or whatever. Like um, no good one anyway. So be when it comes to trying to figure out, okay, who do I look to for reading? Who do I look to for understanding and getting more information? Here's where you have to trust your intuition, because you don't know, right? Especially as a beginner, like you don't know. So you really have to be okay with trusting yourself with what feels right. If you are reading something and you're like, this doesn't feel right to me, then just stop reading it and find something else. If you're watching something and the energy you're getting from it doesn't feel good, and not because it's like resonating real hard, but because it like doesn't feel good, back out of it and find something else. Do a little bit more research. You know, uh, when I was looking into things, I personally only like readings from Black readers. I it's just I feel like that connection is a bit more authentic. And I just kind of trusted my intuition with things. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm not, and it's okay. It's important to know what it is you're wanting to use this tool for. Why are you exploring this? What are you looking to do with this information? Are you looking to manipulate with this information? Are you looking to bypass and avoid what you have to do in real time so that you can work things in your favor? Like that's important, to be honest and real about yourself. Are you doing this out of lack, out of scarcity? Do you think it's a good way to make money real easy? Because it's not, one. And two, that's not a good reason to start learning about this stuff and try to use this as a tool, because it's gonna hit you real hard if the intention isn't right.
Yeah, everything's about your intentions. What I like to say to people who kind of like teeter is I try to explain to them in the best way possible is that, even without the cards, without candles, without certain things, it's because we are like the temple, you're gonna be doing a lot of this stuff by accident. You like what people consider like voodoo or whatever, like they're just dancing and drinking liquor. And on a very like it's a science to everything they're doing, but just on the outside looking in on what they're doing, like let's say in a Haitian ceremony, they're dancing and drinking liquor. People do that at the club every week or every night. So it's like you're technically participating doing the same thing. So for the person who's trying to learn more, it's like I encourage you to really, if you are interested in studying, definitely study because, it's like you can't really necessarily avoid it. It's like for like some people think if I don't pick up this stuff, it's like it's not a part of my life. It's like this, you know, at one point that was going to the doctor. It's like I'm about to go to Ashley and she's gonna tell me, you know, what I need to hear. Or I should say that is going to the therapist. I'm gonna go get a reading. You know, that was a therapist. So these things are just a part of our everyday life. That's what I try to say to the person teetering. It's like no matter those things are kind of enhancements. Like no matter what you do, you can still get a sign without the card, you know. So that's why I would say it's definitely important you study and be careful because and that was gonna be the next thing I go to, like the kind of like false prophets. Because it's like there's so many people out there and I just remember being early on in my journey, you're just in a stage of just wanting to know. It's like, it's like, this is the first time I'm hearing some of this information, you know, it's like, what else can I know, you know? And a lot of times there's a lot of fear mongering. That's what I noticed. It's like a lot of fear mongering. It's a lot of listen to me. I'm the only person like with this special answer. Like I was sent here to save everybody. And it's just a lot of wild conspiracies. And at the end of the day, you start realizing it's like this person will give you all these suggestions or things, and it's really only to keep you latched onto them, but it doesn't really have any personal transformation. And that's really what's supposed to be the goal. Like, you know, how did I change? How did this information help me change spiritually? It's like I go get a reading to figure out how I need to get my life together. You know, it's no different from like when we got the slang, like she just read you. It's like that's you know, that's exactly what it is. She did just read you. Yeah.
Literally.
That's exactly what it is. It was like, what could you say to that? Like something that you know you've seen on your journey and then like things that you observe to the person who's listening and they're just trying to soak up information.
Um, yeah, I think it's great to keep an open mind, you know, being in that space where it's like, okay, here I am, I'm really going to start this. Like, let me get this information. Um, keep that optimism, keep that openness. And like I said, keep that vulnerability with yourself because you're going to realize as you go along, like, there are certain things that resonate with you and you might not understand why yet. And it's going to bring that out and it may or may not be comfortable to deal with, you know, and it's something that you have to be willing to also let go if it's something that you need to let go, or if it's something that you realize, oh, I have to make this adjustment, and that takes work. And as you continue to learn and continue to have these understandings about yourself, like I said, your intention is always important. So with your intent, you know, always know that the knowledge is there and you don't have to rush to learn everything all at once, and that there are multiple ways to do things. And it's okay if you want to take your time with understanding what those are. You know, it's important to give yourself grace as you're learning through this and understanding what these things mean for you. Because, you know, watching readers and things like that, you know, you're still getting the understanding of things through their perspective. And so if you have the opportunity to, you know, really sit there and just take your time and learn what certain things mean and what they represent and what they, you know, symbolize and how that applies to you, and learn how to apply it to yourself so you can take a closer look at yourself, then again it becomes easier to learn, okay, what do I actually need and what can I leave for later, you know, so you're not overwhelming yourself with all of this energy. And so you're not also getting caught up in someone who's just looking to control, like you said, for, you know, false prophets and things like that. People who are very self-centered and and I know this, I know, like, you know, calling themselves God's favorite and God's this and God's that. Like, that's very, like, cultish to me, you know, very much about manipulation and power and not about actual community. Um, because you never really feel that egotistical energy from like actual community leaders, right? And like people who are just making moves in your community. It never feels like, um, they're saying they know everything and they know all things, and that you should listen to the way that they say you should live your life and all of that stuff. Like it can get real weird real fast. So if you ever feel that energy, reading something from someone or watching something from someone, just listen to what your spirit is telling you and back away. Okay, back away.
I feel like that's definitely, if there was like a top 5 checklist, like if you was like starting somebody off and like this is your checklist, like go crazy. I feel like that's high on there because during my early time, because we come from, the pastor didn't say we could do this. The pastor didn't say we could do that. And that's how we're bred. Because a lot of times it's not that a particular scripture or religious thing that even has laws and statutes against some of the things that people preach and say that we shouldn't do. It's actually just some God or just some people like, or a certain group that'll be like, no, you're not supposed to be doing this. You're not supposed to be doing that. And because we get raised that way, so now, you switch it up. You switch your cross out for an unk. And now the person with the unk is just doing the same thing. And I've caught myself in that. It's like you're listening to what they're saying because now it's like they're using bigger words that you never seen before, or you feel like this person's giving you some sort of knowledge or that's an advantage or something, but then you start to realize it's like, this isn't helping me. Like, I'm not feeling any different. Or when you hear like a real master teacher, you start to know the difference, because then when he uses one of these words, he'll be like, but it's in this book. Or you could go learn for yourself and see your own perspective in this book. Or this is what I had to do. I drank 10 glasses of water and then I was doing this. Okay, I took a shot of like, they're always telling you, I did this. Like, this is what you might do. It may not work for you. Then when I started noticing the difference, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm starting to find all these teachers that just like, it's all going to be on you at the end of the day. And I wasn't seeing that before. Before, it was just like, it's all going to be based on what I say. Like, I am the in between you, right, us, and the source. And I got to tell you how we going to bust moves. And it's very easy to get caught up in that. You won't even notice it. And it's not even necessarily your fault because, through repetition, we've been bred to kind of be this way. Don't ask questions. Don't like, just listen, just get in order and obey. So that's definitely, I feel like on the top 5, you gotta be careful. But like she said, you really got to get to a point of being able to trust your own spirit. That's how I feel like you'll start to know if your intuition is being activated. If you'll hear something, you'll be like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, hold on, like that is, those two things don't sound right. So I would like to talk about the idea of a healthy body. So I feel like when I was first, I used to be even a little skinnier than I am now. Like even when we like first met, I was probably slimmer then because I really just wasn't eating. I would just probably like drink juice and water because of how busy I was. And people would see me and I'm trying to tell them about health or whatever. And they're like, oh, but you're the super skinny dude. Like, what would you know? And I'm like, man, I was just like 260 a year ago, like, it didn't just happen overnight. And sometimes it's like, it's not their fault. Again, we've been bred to think this way, but we have this idea of what the healthy body is. It's this dude with this like 6-pack and he's like going to the gym and stuff. And it's like, that's the only healthy body. Like these like, you're supposed to look one way. And if you don't look that one way, then you're unhealthy or right. Something is wrong with you or something is wrong with your body. It's like, we can struggle with like, body image just because we're not sure, and again, this is another reason why it's good to turn back to our history, because then you will understand it's like, some people are just going to be larger. It's just, or some people are just going to be smaller. And sometimes that was all based on, again, when you was born or what your role is to be, or, a certain energy that you carry. And of course, we're not getting this information, but I just want to speak to the, like this false idea of what people have of like what a healthy body is. Cause they'll see us and see that we're slim and think like we're sick or something. And and it's very ignorant, but it's just something we normalize in our culture. Like, you need to go eat. It's like, what?
Right.
Like that's
Right.
crazy to say to somebody.
Right. It's funny that you say that because I was just talking about this with someone else too. But um, first about the idea of a healthy body, right? Like you're absolutely right where, we've glorified and normalized to use those buzzwords, that slim is healthy, right? And then of course, once you get past the too slim mark, then you're obviously sick, right? Um, but here's the thing, weight, body type, that is more often than not a genetic thing, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a large genetic component to that. And then secondly, we have to understand, and this is what I don't like about Western medicine, because Western medicine is not transparent. And that's the problem, among other things, but that's one of the major problems that Western medicine is not transparent. There is more than one body type, right? Like physiologically, there's three different body types. Some will be slimmer, some will be heavier, and some will be kind of in between. And that's real life, right? Like that some of us are just naturally going to be bigger. Some of us are just naturally going to be slimmer. Some of us are naturally going to like vacillate in the middle and kind of be in between things all the time. And we have to be okay with that. I am a firm believer in getting rid of like diet culture and things like that because it's dangerous. It's causing disconnects between people and their bodies, which is really important. And that's the other part, like we were talking, like you were saying with body dysmorphia, like that's a real disconnect between how you see yourself and what's actually being presented in front of you, right? Like when you look in the mirror. And that becomes dangerous because people will start exercising excessively, right? Start going to the gym way too much, putting their body under exorbitant amounts of stress just to look a certain way. And it's never enough because in their mind, that connection isn't there anymore, or it's not healthy anymore. Um, Likewise with, anorexia and things like that. It's that idea that looking at yourself, it's not what the reality is not matching up with what you're seeing. And it's causing this extreme disconnect to now where you're mistreating yourself. And that is, again, not your fault, but that's the trauma that dieting and that, you know, societal pressures, cultural pressures, and things like that put on you and create that disconnect with yourself and understanding like, no, it's okay if I do eat this way, or no, it's okay if I don't eat this way. It's okay if I don't want to have fried everything. Like it's okay if I want to, because I know that's a thing within Black communities too. Like a lot of the times we may shame people for wanting to eat differently, um, and not
Crazy.
even realize that
Yeah.
might be because of their health. Like it could be because they have a condition and they have to eat differently, like all of those things. So the idea of a healthy body, it starts with, which is hard, rejecting what society is saying is a healthy body, rejecting what people are projecting onto you of, oh, you should look this way, you should do this, you should do that. People are always saying what you need to be doing for yourself and not knowing how you live and what you live with every day, which is frustrating. And so we often don't take that into consideration for ourselves either when we do go back into wanting to, eat better and exercise and all that stuff. We don't give ourselves that grace either, where we're like, okay, life happens. There's going to be some days where I don't want to do this. There's going to be some days where I just want to eat whatever. And that should be okay. You know what I mean? Like there is nothing wrong with that. Um, and of course, I know doctors and dietitians might say something different, but I don't think diets are good. I don't think they're healthy to the mind or to the body. And I feel like the more that we just understand about the foods that are available to us and why it's important that we consume them, I think then it'll be easier to just um, to eat how we feel, and not eat how we feel in the sense of like stress eating or emotional eating or things like that. But, being able to trust the rhythm that your body is on when it's time to eat and what you decide to eat, right? You're going to choose that better thing, consciously choose that better thing, right? And not feel bad about it. Or if you choose that not so good thing, you're not going to feel bad about it because you're allowing yourself that balance and having that grace.
Hmm. That's a great answer.
Mhm.
Um, I definitely think diets are bad. That's why I tell people, it's like, if you sign up with me, we're going to be doing a lifestyle change, because that's the only way you can do it. And it's like it's good to turn to nature when you want to like understand like how to live. I feel like in balance, and the birds outside don't go on a diet. Like,
Right.
their diet is their diet. It's like
Right.
it's just seeds and stuff, and it's just so many things that we do that it's just like when you start to kind of get to a certain understanding, it's like all I can do is laugh. That's why I tell people it's just so funny, because it's just like, what are we doing? It's like
Right.
it's the only thing it makes me do is like just laugh, because I don't get it. One of the things I want to get into is the denormalizing of the certain toxic behaviors, because the what you were saying with how we're be told like you're eating different. It's like people, you're getting attacked for that, and we aren't built to have strong minds. Like, if you have a strong mind, it's almost like a miracle, because we've been hit with so much propaganda, so much like things that starting off in the home, then you go to school, then you watch TV. It's like so much things that to attack your mind. So if you have a strong mind, you definitely, like, I salute you. Because we ain't built to have a strong mind, just hearing like, why are you eating a salad? Like, what the hell are you doing? That could throw somebody's whole journey off. They
Right.
it can
I
be
don't mean to laugh, but it's so true. Like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
no, but it's like you could be on day 11 and you think you're killing it. It's like, are you eating a salad? Are you crazy? And then it's like that person, because they don't have that strong mind. And it sounds so simple. It's like all they did was say something to them. How they let that bother them? And like, and then that's when you get to the point where it's like it's kind of hard to explain certain things to them. It's like, if you don't understand, it's like you're just not gonna necessarily understand. And I don't want to go into like a big back and forth, but just that little thing could set somebody off, and we don't even realize that. It's just how we talk to each other. And I guess we can kind of go into denormalizing toxic behavior, but I realize there's so much things like we're having certain conversations now with like Me Too and stuff like that, where it's like, all right, it's about time we started talking about this. But then I started taking it a step further from that. I'm like, there's a lot of things that's just unnatural. Now that I don't think, like, now that I know that this is wrong, there's a lot of things that are just unnatural that we just do it every day. Like the way that I was raised, and we just talk to each other. Like the way that your family, like, are you like, call you like a dumbass or something because you couldn't
Right.
find something. The
Right.
repetition of that, the way that they say it to you, the tone, the energy, if you want to speak from a spiritual perspective that you're being sent to, it's like, that affects you. That literally shapes you
Mhm.
the way that you are. And there's so many things that I feel like we've just normalized. Like, that's just life. And I feel like part of the healing journey, which was really opening Pandora's box for me, I would say, was started to denormalize those things. Like I'll be sitting there, it's like we having a conversation. This will happen a lot with me and my friends on Xbox. Like, Gene is one of them. And we'd be talking, and then it's like I sit and think for a second. It's like we talk about somebody who just got shot, and he left behind his 2 kids and this and that. And it's like we telling a story from when he was 16. It's like, what is a 16-year-old doing getting shot? It's like it's just those little things, because that's just my life. People die every day. You start to be like, wait, but that's not normal. And
Right.
then I start doing that with other things. I'm like, well, shit, that's not normal. That's not normal. You realize this is why so many people don't even know where to begin on their healing journey, because they don't even know that certain things have happened to them or that they experienced that is bad or wrong.
Hmm.
And we don't know. It's like ways that we've been abused let's say even as simple as verbally, and we don't know. We think that's just how your mom is supposed to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
We think that's how we're supposed to be treated. And it started to give me a real understanding to why I could like, it's like, oh, we like, we don't take therapy serious and stuff. It's like I saw that level of it, but it wasn't until the denormalizing the toxic behavior I started to be like, okay, I can see where our problems are for real, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of conversations I don't even know if we're ready to be had or even know that this was a conversation,
Right.
For some people, like when I'm in the barbershop, a lot of times I would just be listening. Like I'm just listening to the old men talk and I'm just like, this is a case. Like, like I'm not, but this is just normal to them. Like this is just, even sometimes the way they'll talk about like how they used to approach women and do certain things. And I'm like, that's a case. Like, but to them, that's just life. Like,
right.
That's just how we used to do it. That's just how things were done. It's like, it could be a little spooky, It's definitely a rough part of the journey, but I definitely think it's needed. But I'll let you speak to what you think your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. Like, going back to, let's say, abuse, right? A lot of us were abused as children, and a lot of us don't see it as that. When we tell people, oh, kind of what you went through, or when people are speaking about their own experiences and calling it abuse, then there's people that are like, oh, that's not abuse. My parents did this to me and I was fine. And of course, we know what extreme versions of abuse look like, but there's things that fall along the spectrum, and um, the backlash that I feel like so many people have been getting recently, especially with like videos that have been circulating on social media, about gentle parenting and not beating your kids and actually talking to your kids and telling them, okay, no, you don't do this because this, or I don't like when you do this, or listening to your kids, and apologizing to your kids. People are up in arms about that. And it's like, why? Why are you mad that people want to acknowledge their children as people as well, and not just as property, or not taking out their frustration on their child because you can't understand your child and your child can't understand you. So your child is just screaming at you. And so instead of you screaming back, you hit your child and then start screaming, like that part doesn't happen. Like that connection doesn't happen. And it's frustrating because it's like, why do you want to put someone through that? Why would you want to put your own child through that if you have a child? Like, just because you turned out okay, quote unquote, doesn't
what you think is okay.
Child will turn out okay. Like,
Yeah.
that, and it's like, again, why do you want to put someone through that? Why are you okay with that being how you were raised? Does that not stir something up inside of you and make you want to understand a little bit more? I can definitely say, getting older, you start to understand where certain things begin. You start to learn more about your family and where certain things begin, and you can put those pieces together about then why certain things played out the way that they did for yourself, or why you then started to do certain things, and you're like, wow, okay. So now that you're aware, if you're in a place where you're still not ready to deal with that information, then you're going to keep doing what you're doing. But if you're in a place where you're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, like ever. I don't want to do this to the generations after me. Like, I don't want this to be something that continues. Then you're going to really recognize, like, okay, this is what it's going to take, or this is what I'm going to need to do in order to really handle this, and in order to really address this. And that is a very difficult thing for a lot of people to do. Like you were saying, like that's a conversation that a lot of people don't even know that they need to have yet, aren't ready to have yet, and um, are refusing to understand why it's important to have that conversation. So a lot of the, you know, unlearning again starts at like the individual level first, and recognizing, like, you know, reaching that level of frustration with yourself where you're like, okay, I can't keep doing this. So why do I keep doing this? You
Mm,
know, that for me, that's what it was. Like there were certain things that just kept happening over and over. And I was like, I know that I don't want this anymore, but why does this keep happening?
mm,
And I had to really be real with myself about it and really like go through the emotions of understanding what that meant and also what it meant to let that go. And those are very difficult things to cope with, but they're important. And so when it's really hard to deal with folks that run from that process,
mm,
because you know that they crave what happens on the other side of that process, but they're just not willing to do the work. And so then you know, like you said, you get into that back and forth with folks, and then it's not good for anyone. So part of that too is also, again, knowing when to leave people where they're at with certain things, because that part of the journey maybe you're not supposed to witness, or maybe you just can't be there for. Like they
mm,
have to go that part alone. And if they do, then that's great. If they don't, then that's something that they have to keep dealing with, you know, like, but understanding that, you know, that it does start within. With all of this stuff, you know, it always comes back to self in that way. And not to say that you are the all-knowing source, but everything does have to start with you, where you have to recognize these certain things within yourself first, before then you can see it in others, and then before you can see if they're willing to do the work or not. Because if they're
mm,
not, then you come to that place where you're like, okay, I have to set boundaries now. I can't be here, or you can't be here, you know. And that comes further down the line. But acknowledging that, okay, there's something going on here, and I have to do something about it. Like I have to do something for myself about this, because I don't like how this is going again and again and again. Because that's what it is, you know, repetitive actions, repetitive cycles that leave you either where you already were or further back, and you're trying to move forward. So it's like you, that space is there to learn that lesson, but you have to be willing to learn that lesson and look within.
mm. Um, and to the person listening, again, I'll say like this is definitely one of those ones that it's not as easy because again we don't know what toxic behavior is. Like we haven't fully defined that. We just got to like abuse, and even then for some people they still are learning. Like I remember one podcast we did when me and Gene used to have a podcast where they were talking about, I think, the Cosby situation, or no, R. Kelly. And one of the girls, she jumped up, was like, we all had, or a lot of girls had older dudes in high school. And a lot of the times when I was younger, like when I should say when I was in college, I remember that. So I was like, when he was being attacked and stuff, I couldn't understand personally because I was like, but wait a minute, this is like something that's normal in our culture. Like I like one of my, I know I have family members was like the mom was like a teenager and the dad was already in his 30s. Now that doesn't mean that it's right, and that's kind of what I'm leading to. Like that's wrong as hell. But they didn't. I don't even know if they knew that. I don't know who knew that, but we're kind of like the first generation in a while to be like, nah, that's wrong. Like,
Right.
so it sounds crazy to people, but then those are the extreme cases. Some of the more things that you could be overlooking that's like, having you in this loop that she was just referring to is like, um, it could just be as simple as, the everyday stereotypical growing up in the hood. And you could be in a house that's stable. Like, everybody hates Chris. He lived in the hood.
Hmm.
You had a stable house. But the fact that you walk past a crackhead, the fact that you have to see this on your journey, the fact that you may deal with, or just things that you see, I won't even say deal with, nobody's bothering you, nothing. Just seeing that can mess up your mind. And I didn't learn this kind of stuff until I took this lifespan class in college. It was like something I took by accident. And when they were talking about people in the army and like PTSD and stuff, and I'm saying like, I've seen people get shot all the time. Or when I would be in like dorms having conversations with people, we talking about growing up. And it's like, nah, man, my boys from elementary school, them niggas in jail or them niggas dead. And it's like everybody's having like a wide face. And I'm like, why are you having a wide face? Because and it's like, that's just, and it's like, or I'm like, yeah, man, it's like that time where we was at the park and then it came and they got shot up. And it's like, were you in a gang or something? I'm like, in a gang? I wasn't in a gang. It's like, that's just
right.
that's just life. But it's like, why is that life? Or wait, that shouldn't be life. Unfortunately, that's life, but it wasn't until I was like in college and stuff, I realized like, you know, living in the hood is kind of crazy because I thought I was spoiled. That's how my mom would make it seem like they was in Jamaica walking 10 miles a day. So the fact that I have the ability, you know, take the bus or whatever, like the fact that I have the ability to go to like a YMCA, that I'm spoiled. So that's the mindset I always had. I didn't know any of this is wrong. And then you mix that in with the abuse and stuff, and it can be a lot. So it's definitely something, you know, like she said, start asking yourself, like, it's something you want to look into because the list will be too long to name, you know, of the things that we just do, we say, we act, we commune with, and it's like, it's just so unnatural. It's literally like, that's the best way to put it. It's unnatural. It's not something that we should be doing. It doesn't even make sense. And it's easier to look at certain things from childhood once you get to a certain age, because I'm at an age now where it's like, I'm not even that old. I'm only 25. Like I look at a 14-year-old die, I'm like, damn, that's a baby.
Right.
I'm like, I remember what I was doing at 14. You know, it's like, why was I doing that? It's like, where's the parents at? Where's the this? And you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's like it was a part of the journey where it's like, you know, it's a lot hitting you. The more and more you do, it's a lot hitting you, but it definitely helps. It's like I don't know how to give an analogy, but it definitely taking the weight off your shoulders at the end. So even if you gotta take a couple punches, just know it's like you're gonna be, if you was walking around with a book bag full of bricks, it's gonna be lifted off. And sometimes we don't even know why we do the things we do, you know, and it could be simple reasons. I was raised not to talk. Like as a man, we'd be in the house, me and my cousins, they just like, y'all talk, y'all batiman. So it's like, and not in a joking way either. It's like, y'all talking too much. Like, what are y'all, some girls? So we just learned to not talk. So now when I be going places, it's like, you're so quiet. It's like, I'm not quiet. I just, in my mind, like, I don't realize it, but in my mind, I'm like, if I say a bunch of words, I'm a girl or I'm a feminine or something. And it's just programmed there. And you don't realize it. So then I'll be out in public. And it's like, damn, you haven't said a word in like the whole night. And it's like, but that's how I was raised. But that's not normal. So to the person watching, it's like definitely something that you should think about. I think we got everything except for, we basically covered holistic health beyond food, because we talked about, you know, the spiritually and mentally. The only other thing I say I would talk about, and I kind of just touched on it, but one of the things that definitely started helping me draw the line in the sand is when I started like really focusing on, I would say, the spiritual side, because for me, you know, spiritual side, I feel like you focus on that, it's going to help you in the physical side, you know. And when I started focusing on that, and it's like, we're just energy, you know, we're just like a temple and stuff. It's like, when I started seeing people still like heavily homophobic while saying these things, it's like, you'll see a person say, like, we're in the matrix and none of this stuff is real. And then it's like, they have all these hateful comments towards certain groups afterwards. And it's like, I just thought none of this stuff was real. Like I thought we was in the matrix and none of this matters. It's like, so why? It's like you'll see people, it's like they're holy for a second, but then it's like somebody doing OnlyFans, and it's like I have respect for everybody, but these motherfuckers right here. And it's like I thought you was this spiritual, non-judgmental, you know, scales of truth and all that good stuff. And it's like that shit, you see right through somebody. Hold on, my headphones messing up. You see right through somebody like real fast with that. But what would you? I don't even know if I could question this right, but what would you say to somebody who is Like me, I was raised to be heavily homophobic, and I'm not. My mom used to always teach me about the two-spirit people. My mom used to teach me a lot of like indigenous stuff. She'd be like, you know, these people, the two-spirit people used to be the balance between the genders.
Mhm.
And when she would be teaching me that stuff, I had no understanding of what she was talking about. This is another thing that's like, when you start to research, these things come back up. But I never, even though I was bred to be that way and it was a part of my like what they're telling me to think, I never felt that way on the inside. Like, I never went home thinking about like the dude in school who you could clearly see, even though we're in 7th grade, that he is gay. I never went home with that on my mind. And I even started to realize that the people who were doing that, now that you like, you know, you get into psychology and stuff, it's probably because they're fighting those thoughts themselves. But what would be any comments to like you noticing people having hate towards certain groups, or I don't know if I could put it in the right question, but what would be anything that you have to say towards that?
Well, I'll say that it can be overwhelming sometimes. It can be even scary sometimes because when you when you really start to see that for what it is, hate, when you start to see it for what it is, fear, and things like that, and it makes you uncomfortable, you're not thinking of it as something that's just regular and that's what we all say. Like it's something that's actually making you uncomfortable now. That's how you know that your perspective is like shifting. That's how you know, like, okay, actual liberation does involve these people. Like it does involve literally all of us. Like I can't say I'm living this way or that I want to be this way and then still be hateful because of this. Like so I think that, you know, once you recognize those things and you see them in other people and it starts to make you uncomfortable and you feel yourself wanting to like withdraw and you feel yourself like, oh, I don't know these people anymore. I don't think this way anymore. You know, take that as a sign of the the fact that you are growing and you are transforming. And so now the space that you're going to be operating out of mentally is going to take you away from those people and start to bring you into the spaces where your mentality is transforming, right? To where you're bringing in that more positivity, more abundance. You're understanding what liberation means. You're understanding what it means to treat your body well, what it means to be in community. Like you'll start to see like, oh, that it literally is not a good frequency for you. And you're like, no, 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 no. Like I don't want to be around this, or this isn't for me. I'm not here anymore. Like I'm moving. And you just feel it and it literally starts to change in real time. And it starts with that energetic feeling where you're just like, oh, this I don't like this anymore. Like this isn't for me. Why are y'all trying to make this for me? Like, you know, like, and you'll start to realize like I don't need to even be around that anymore. And um, you'll start to make those shifts and those changes, and you'll see them happening in real time. And that's like the best part about that whole process is when you see those changes happening in real time. You're like, wow, I really did that for myself because that's what you're doing, right? Like you're like, wow, I really got myself out of there. I allowed myself to transform. I allowed myself to find or to be in spaces where other people are transforming this way and we can learn together, and that's the beautiful thing.
It's funny you say that because I'm hearing that. I'm thinking like a couple times I got to go to warehouse. Like I would hang out there all the time because me and Gene are boys. So I would be there like on a Tuesday night, we just playing cards or something. But a couple times I got to go there and it's like an event was going on. It was like I was in a whole nother world, you know, of these people who live, somewhere in this area
Mhm.
or somewhere close. Some of y'all are traveling from a little farther, and these are all like the artsy creative people. And I was in like a whole nother world. I'm like, my younger self would not be able to be in here. Like my younger self was raised to be too judgmental, to like thinking about what, even as small as like looking at the way somebody's dressed, to then something as larger as judging them for how they may be perceived and stuff. And that's when I started to feel like I must have changed somehow or somewhat, because I'm in here and it's like I'm just I'm just in the crowd. Like, I don't feel like an outsider. I don't feel like I'm from over here. It's like, what the hell I'm doing over here? I feel uncomfortable. It's just like I'm in the crowd talking to people, because that's just what they are, people. So when you started off, it was like these people were like how groups can be separated. It's like I don't even like the fact that it's like that. Like we gotta talk about certain people like they're like a mutant or something. Like these type of people, it's like they're just a person. It's only what we've been told like is normal. But there's a lot of things we've been told that's normal. Again, if we want to go back to like using that high school dude, high school girl, and like the 20 or 30-year-old dude, that was just normal to us maybe 6, 7 years ago. When I was in high school, that was normal. So there's a lot of things you might have been told that was normal that's unnormal. It's like who's telling the story. So yeah, I definitely feel like that's important. I don't believe that you can have judgment or hate in your heart for anybody and really be going through like spiritual transformation. Like I don't care how many words how much you talk about melanin and all these like
Right.
kundalini and all these fancy things. Like
Right.
if you haven't had that like change in your heart, it's like all of that stuff is useless to you, because like you said, these are just tools. So you're using those tools and you're going in there with hate. So it's like that's what you're gonna get back. You're not going in there with love. And it's I again have the understanding of why you may think this way. I statistically speaking, like the way I was brought, I should be the same way as you, but I had to go through that transformation. It wasn't I had help. As much as the ignorance I was getting, my mom was trying to feed me light as well, but it's hard because you go out into the world, and up until recently the world wasn't even accepting of this. We didn't have TV show, we didn't have things like that where you can even get an understanding of what's going on, or this can even be seen. This is just something that like they tried to tuck in the corner somewhere, like, and don't let it happen. So it's a new, it's not new because it's always been around. It's always been around, like ancient times, all of that. But I feel like the idea of people letting go of that judgment is kind of new. So to the person watching, I feel like again, it's definitely important. Uh, I will hope that one day we get to a point where it's like this isn't even a conversation, like where we're sectioning people off and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just weird to me because the things that people will judge people on, you'll judge like the OnlyFans person, but you won't judge the person who's like metaphorically doing the same thing to move up at work.
Right.
When he's kissing his boss's ass and um I ain't gonna say it, but doing whatever to move up, it's like, oh, he's doing a good thing. But this person who's doing what they have to do to make money, it's like it's a problem for you. So when I started noticing certain people, it's like it was easier to distance, and that's one of the universal laws. Like the truth will always come to light, so you'll always see who is on. Like after a while, it's like people will still be there when the dust settles. That's the best way to put it. You'll start to see a lot of people, whether they be exposed or called out, whatever, but people who are really genuine with their intentions, they'll still be there when the dust settles.
Exactly.
But I think, yeah, I think that was everything. That was a great conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else you want to ask, you want to say, or any other messages.
Hmm. I don't think so. I just hope that everybody is staying healthy, staying safe. Please reach out to your friends and have real conversations with them.
Mm.
We're losing a lot of people lately. So just make sure you're genuinely connecting with folks and letting them know you love them, and just do all that you can with love.
Hmm. That's a good signing off. Yeah, that ties back to that community. That's a good sign off. But I appreciate you for taking the time out to do this. I won't even call it interview. I'll just call it a candid conversation. I'm hoping that anybody listening to this, no matter where you are on your journey, that you could gain something from this, that to help you or add on to your journey, because the journey is lifelong. Like, you could be 40 and you finally got your big house and your convertible, and now you realize, well, shit, now I got all these new different things on my journey, like that I have to go through and have to realize and have to go through new transformations, because we don't want to be 40 being who we were when we were 30. We don't want to be 30 being who we were when we were 20. So the journey is definitely lifelong. So anybody watching, I just hope you could take something from this to add it on to your journey.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I definitely enjoyed this conversation, and I definitely look forward to more that we'll have, because I know we're going to have more.
Right, yeah, we can definitely come in again, something themed or just another collab, whatever it might be, maybe even a class or something. But I definitely enjoyed the energy and the flow of the conversation and the information and the insight, because the way you put certain things, I feel like you have the voice of somebody who should be like a teacher or something. Like, you have that energy.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it freaks me out to be someone's teacher, because I'm like, someone like is gonna listen to me and like do this for real for their life, and like I hope it works. Like, I always get nervous about that. But I would love to teach. Like, I would love to help just people learn more about themselves like this, you know. So anytime I can talk about this stuff, or just link up with folks in general and have like discussions about things, is always fun, because I learn too. Like, I end up learning too. That's the
Right,
best part about it. Like, everybody's learning.
right. Sometimes you hear someone's story or someone gives you insight on their journey, and you're like, damn, it can be very helpful, because you're like, you think that you had it bad. And not to say that we are comparing, I think that's a problem that we have, where we get caught to compare trauma. Like, our parent will be like, well, it ain't nothing because I had to walk 10 miles in Jamaica. So
Right.
it's like, your trauma should be validated. But sometimes you hear somebody else's story and just seeing how it didn't break them, it made them, it's like, wow, then these things that I thought that were going to break me, maybe these are just the things that's going to shape me to be similar to like how strong this person is now.
Definitely.
But